Hello, my name is Luciano Astorga, and I'm here to talk about science fiction. Now, science fiction to many is just another form of entertainment, and to some, it's not that great of a form of entertainment. But it's interesting to note the major contributions that science fiction has had over the years in the realms of technology, the changing face of war, and our society in general. In 2009, an article was written by Dr. Charles Gannon, a former scriptwriter for the United Nations and World Health Organization, and a prolific writer of both fiction and nonfiction books. In this article, entitled Imagining the Wars and Weapons of Tomorrow, Dr. Gannon proposes that science fiction may not only have predictive qualities, but can also help influence the future. Now, how does science fiction do this, you might ask? According to Dr. Gannon's article, many factors help influence the future through science fiction, and three of them are increased awareness of pseudo-technology, increased respect of science fiction writers by military personnel, and increased public influence, and political as well. Now, of these three, the first, increased awareness of pseudo-technology, is shown in Dr. Gannon's article when talking about a group called Cigna. Cigna is a science fiction think tank that since 2007 has been providing advice to governmental and private organizations on different concepts and aspects of futurism. Now, the second point that Dr. Gannon makes is one of the largest in his article, and it's the increased respect that science fiction authors are accorded by military personnel. And a fact that he cites is that in military planning circles, the most cited book is not something such as Red Badge of Courage or War and Peace, but is actually Starship Troopers, a science fiction novel written in 1959 by Robert Heinlein, who, in World War II, as a science fiction writer with no other credentials, was contracted by the United States Navy to help with research projects on radar, the anti-kamikaze initiative, and materials for hypersonic aircrafts. Now, while talking about the past, we also will talk about the present, and Dr. Charles Gannon does just that. He, in an interview with Robert McClellan, the chief engineer in implementing new technology into the F-18 fighter aircraft, talks about his book collection. Now, in this interview, he says that he has about 800 to 1,000 books in his house, and that about 80% of them are science fiction books, and that he has, in the past, suggested ideas out of the books that he read to his superiors, and that he's no longer allowed to talk about those ideas because they're now classified. And that's a real-life example of how science fiction may influence the future. Now, the third, political influence, is also important. And to do that, Dr. Gannon talks about another science fiction writer from the past, and that's Jerry Pournelle. Now, Jerry Pournelle wrote a tract called Mutually Assured Survival in response to Ronald Reagan's Global Defense Initiative. Now, this tract was eventually applauded by Reagan and caused a lot of public awareness for orbital defenses, and really helped set off our space race and our global defenses against global missiles. Now, when looking at all of these factors, Dr. Gannon says that all of these put together show that science fiction can have a significant influence on the future. And it's important to think when we're talking about science fiction that not all things that have been proposed in science fiction have yet come to pass. And so science fiction may have a lot still to teach us. And while we may not be meeting aliens anytime soon, things like orbital asteroid mining are becoming a more viable industry by the day. And so I'm Luciano Astorga, and I thank you for your time, and I hope that as a personal fan of science fiction, I have helped inform you a little bit better